The smell of coffee filled Jake Martinez's small shop on Nexus Point Station. He wiped down the counter and looked at the strange items from Earth that filled his shelves. There were old books, music boxes, and colorful stones that aliens seemed to love. Jake had been running this shop for 2 years now. Most people thought he was just another human trader trying to make money in space. Jake was tall, with dark hair and calm brown eyes. He always smiled at his customers, no matter what species they were. The blue-skinned Antarians liked his earth spices. The tall gray Kelthans bought his music boxes. Even the grumpy Vorthak merchants treated him with respect. "Good morning, Jake," said Maya Chen as she walked into the shop. She was his assistant, a young woman with short black hair and quick hands. Maya helped him run the store and talk to customers in languages Jake pretended not to know. "Morning, Maya. How are things looking today?" Jake asked. "Busy. 3 ships. Came in last night. Traders, mostly. But there's someone new. A woman. She's been walking around the station looking lost." Jake nodded. Nexus Point was a place where all kinds of people came and went. Some were running from something. Some were looking for something. The station sat between 3 different star empires, so it was neutral ground, perfect for people who needed to disappear for a while. The door chimed as someone entered. Jake looked up and saw a woman he had never seen before. She was tall and graceful, with pale blue skin and silver hair that fell to her shoulders. Her clothes were simple but well made. She was clearly not human, but Jake could not tell what species she was. "Can I help you?" Jake asked with his usual friendly smile. The woman looked around the shop with curious eyes. "I have never seen things like these before. What is this place?" "It's a shop that sells items from Earth, my home planet. Are you looking for anything special?" She picked up a small music box and turned the key. A soft melody began to play. Her eyes went wide with wonder. "This is beautiful. How does it work?" Jake walked over to her. "It's an old human invention. Tiny metal pieces inside move when you wind it up. They hit other pieces and make the sound." "Amazing. Your people make such interesting things." She set the music box down carefully. My name is Zara. I'm Jake. Nice to meet you, Zara. You seem new to the station." Zara nodded. "I am traveling, looking for a place to stay for a while. Someone told me this station was safe." "It is. The security here is good. Captain Blake runs a tight ship." "Where are you from?" Zara hesitated. "Far away. A place you probably have not heard of." Jake did not push. Many people on Nexus Point had secrets. "Well, if you need anything, let me know. I know this station pretty well." Over the next few days, Zara came to the shop often. She would look at the Earth items and ask Jake questions about his home world. She seemed to love hearing about Earth's oceans and forests. Jake found himself looking forward to her visits. "Tell me about Earth food," Zara said one afternoon. She was holding a cookbook and looking at the pictures. "What would you like to know?" "Do humans really eat plants and animals from the same planet they live on?" Jake laughed. "Yes, we do. Most species do that, don't they?" "Not where I come from. We import food from other worlds. It's supposed to be safer." "Safer how?" Zara looked uncomfortable. "Disease, poison, things like that. My people are very careful about what they eat." Jake made a mental note. That sounded like something a very advanced or very paranoid civilization would do. "Would you like to try some Earth food? I have a small kitchen in the back. I could make something simple." Zara's face lit up. You would do that? Of course. I was going to make lunch anyway. Jake made rice and vegetables with some spices from his shop. Zara ate slowly, tasting everything carefully. This is wonderful. The flavors are so different from what I'm used to. I'm glad you like it. What kind of food do your people usually eat? Processed nutrients mostly. Very efficient, but not very interesting. They talked while they ate. Zara asked questions about Earth culture and history. She was smart and curious, but Jake noticed she never talked about her own people or planet. She was definitely hiding something, but so was almost everyone else on the station. After lunch, Zara helped Jake organize some inventory. She was careful with the fragile items and had good instincts about how to arrange things. You're good at this, Jake said. I have always been good with details. My father says I notice things other people miss. What does your father do? Zara went quiet. He manages things. Important things. Jake decided not to ask more questions. Everyone deserved their privacy. That evening, Jake was closing up the shop when Maya rushed in. Her face was worried. Jake, we have a problem. There are some bad people on the station, bounty hunters. They're looking for someone. Who? I don't know, but they're asking questions about a woman with silver hair. Jake felt cold. Zara, you know her. She's been coming to the shop. Nice woman. Seems harmless. Maya shook her head. Bounty hunters don't come after harmless people. She must be someone important, or someone who did something bad. Jake thought about the woman who had eaten lunch with him and laughed at his stories about Earth. She did not seem like a criminal, but she definitely had secrets. What do we do? Maya asked. Jake looked out the shop window. The station corridors were darker than usual. Somewhere out there, dangerous people were hunting for Zara, and Jake had a feeling her secrets were bigger than anyone knew. We help her, Jake said quietly. Maya stared at him. Jake, we can't get involved with bounty hunters. It's too dangerous. Maybe, but I'm not going to let them hurt an innocent woman. Jake did not tell Maya that his own secrets might be even bigger than Zara's. And if he was right about who was hunting her, things were about to get very complicated on Nexus Point Station. Jake found Zara at the small cafe near the station's central hub. She was sitting alone, looking nervous. Her silver hair was covered by a dark hood, but Jake could see her pale blue face in the dim light. Zara, he said quietly as he sat down, across from her. She looked up, startled. Jake, what are you doing here? Looking for you. There are people on the station asking questions about a woman with silver hair. Bounty hunters. Zara's face went pale. I knew this would happen. I stayed too long. Who are you, really? Jake asked. Zara looked around the cafe. There were only a few other people there, but she still whispered, I cannot tell you everything, but my name is not just Zara. My father is an important man. Very important. Some people want to use me to hurt him. What kind of important? The kind that rules planets. Jake felt his stomach drop. A ruler's daughter. That explained a lot. Okay, we need to get you out of here, now. Where can I go? They will find me anywhere. Jake stood up. I know a place, but you have to trust me. Zara looked into his eyes. Why are you helping me? Because it's the right thing to do. Jake led Zara through the station's back corridors. He seemed to know every shortcut and hidden passage. When they heard voices ahead, Jake pulled her into a maintenance shaft. They crawled through the narrow space until they reached another corridor. "How do you know the station so well?" Zara asked. "I've been here a while. You learn things." They reached Jake's ship, a small cargo vessel called the Freebird. It looked old and worn, but the engines hummed with quiet power. "Get in," Jake said. "We're leaving." "Where are we going?" "Kepler's Edge. It's a mining planet, very remote. No one will look for you there." As they lifted off from the station, Zara watched Jake fly the ship. His hands moved over the controls like he had been doing this for years. He spoke to the station traffic control in perfect pilot language, getting clearance to leave without any questions. "You are a very good pilot," Zara said. "I've had practice." The jump to Kepler's Edge took 6 hours. During the trip, Jake made simple food and showed Zara how to use the ship's systems. She was a quick learner and asked smart questions about everything. "This ship is much better than it looks," she said. "Sometimes it's good to not look too impressive." Kepler's Edge was a brown, dusty planet with 2 small suns. The mining settlement had maybe 300 people living in simple buildings. Jake landed the ship near the edge of town and led Zara to a building that looked empty. But when Jake put his hand on a hidden scanner, the door opened to reveal something amazing. Inside was a fully equipped safe house with advanced computers, communication equipment, and enough supplies for months. "What is this place?" Zara asked, looking around. "A backup plan. I told you sometimes you need to be prepared." "Jake, this is military equipment, very expensive military equipment. How does a simple merchant have access to something like this?" Jake was quiet for a moment. "I'm not as simple as I look." Over the next few days, Zara learned more about Jake's unusual skills. He spoke her language perfectly, even though she had never told him what species she was. He knew the politics of her star empire better than most people who lived there. And when the mining settlement had trouble with their communication array, Jake fixed it in minutes. "You are not a merchant," Zara said one evening as they watched the twin suns set. "I am a merchant. I just have other skills, too." "What kind of skills?" Jake looked at her. "The kind that keep people safe." On their 5th day on Kepler's Edge, trouble found them. Pirates attacked the mining settlement, demanding tribute from the miners. The settlement's small security force was no match for the heavily armed raiders. Jake watched the attack from the safe house monitors. "Stay here," he told Zara. "Where are you going?" "To help." Zara watched through the cameras as Jake moved through the settlement. He did not fight the pirates directly. Instead, he talked to the miners and security guards, giving them quiet instructions. Under his guidance, the defenders set traps and coordinated their actions. The pirates found themselves facing organized resistance instead of scared miners. Their attack fell apart as the settlers used the terrain and buildings to their advantage. Within an hour, the raiders were retreating, leaving their wounded behind. Jake returned to the safe house as if nothing had happened. "The pirates won't be back," he said. "How do you know?" "Because I convinced them that this settlement is more trouble than it's worth." Zara stared at him. "You organized that entire defense, didn't you?" "I gave some advice." "Jake, who are you?" "Really?" Before Jake could answer, Maya's voice came through the communication system. "Jake, we have a problem. The bounty hunters found your ship's flight path. They're asking questions about Kepler's Edge." Jake cursed quietly. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 2 days before they figure out exactly where you went." Zara listened to this conversation with growing understanding. Maya was not just Jake's shop assistant. She was his intelligence contact. "Jake," Zara said after he finished talking to Maya, I need to tell you something about who I really am. I'm listening. My father is Emperor Thane of the Veltar Empire. I am Princess Zara Velthane. I ran away because I was supposed to marry a man I have never met. A political marriage to secure an alliance. Jake was quiet for a long time. That explains the bounty hunters. I have an idea. A way to protect both of us. What? Zara took a deep breath. Marry me. Jake stared at her. What? If I marry you, I will be under diplomatic protection as your wife. And you will have the protection of the Veltar Empire. It would solve both our problems. Zara, you don't know anything about me. I know enough. You are kind, brave, and smart. You risked your life to help me when you didn't have to. That tells me what kind of man you are. Jake thought about it. There are things about me you don't know. Things that might change how you feel. Everyone has secrets, Jake, even me. The next day, they held a simple wedding ceremony. The settlement's elder, an old miner named Pete, performed the service. Maya attended by video link, smiling as she watched her partner marry an alien princess. During the ceremony, Zara noticed Jake speaking quietly to Maya in what sounded like code words mixed into normal conversation. Military communications, she realized. Jake was reporting to someone. After the ceremony, as they shared a simple meal with the miners, Zara watched her new husband. He was charming and friendly with everyone, but she could see how he constantly watched the exits and monitored the radio chatter. This was not normal behavior for a merchant. Jake, she said that night, as they settled into their new life as husband and wife. What aren't you telling me? Jake looked at the simple sword pendant he wore around his neck. He had worn it every day since she met him. But now she wondered if it meant something more than decoration. Maybe someday I'll tell you everything, he said. But not yet. Zara fell asleep next to her mysterious husband, knowing that their marriage was just the beginning of something much bigger. Jake's secrets were deeper than she had imagined, and she had a feeling their quiet life on Kepler's edge would not last long. Outside, Maya's ship landed quietly in the darkness. She had brought news that would change everything for the newlyweds. The Veltar capital city stretched across 3 continents of the homeworld. Zara looked out the window of the royal transport as they flew toward the massive palace complex. Beside her, Jake sat quietly, wearing simple but well-made clothes that Zara had bought for him. Are you nervous? She asked. Jake shook his head. I've met important people before. Not like my father. Emperor Thane does not like surprises, and our marriage was definitely a surprise. The palace was enormous, with towers that reached into the clouds. Thousands of people worked there, from servants to soldiers to government officials. As they walked through the halls, Zara noticed how Jake seemed to study everything. He looked at the guards, the security cameras, and the exits, like he was making a map in his mind. Emperor Thane was waiting in his private meeting room. He was tall like Zara, with silver hair and the same pale blue skin. But his eyes were cold and calculating. He looked at Jake like he was examining an interesting but possibly dangerous animal. So this is the human my daughter married, the Emperor said. Jake bowed politely. Your Majesty, thank you for welcoming me into your family. I have not welcomed you yet. Sit down, both of you. They sat across from the Emperor at a large table. Royal guards stood along the walls, their weapons, ready but not drawn. Zara tells me you are a merchant, the Emperor said to Jake. Yes, Your Majesty. I sell items from Earth to various species. And where did you learn to speak our language so well? I have a gift for languages, sir. It helps in my business. Emperor Thane leaned forward. My intelligence officers tell me you have no official records before you appeared on Nexus Point 2 years ago. That is unusual for a simple merchant. Jake smiled calmly. I value my privacy, Your Majesty. Many merchants do. Zara watched this conversation with growing worry. Her father was testing Jake, looking for weaknesses, but Jake seemed completely comfortable, answering questions without revealing anything important. I will allow this marriage to stand, the Emperor finally said. But you will both live here in the palace where I can watch you. Over the next few weeks, Jake settled into life at the royal court. The nobles looked down on him because he was human, but Jake did not seem to care. He was polite to everyone and made friends with the servants and guards. Zara noticed that Jake always seemed to know what was happening in the palace before anyone told him. When there was an assassination attempt against a visiting ambassador, Jake warned the guards minutes before it happened. When rival nobles tried to poison a political enemy, Jake somehow knew to avoid certain foods at dinner. How do you always know these things? Zara asked him one night. People talk. If you listen carefully, you can learn a lot. Jake, these are state secrets. Palace guards don't gossip about assassination attempts. Jake was quiet. I pay attention, that's all. Commander Vex was the palace intelligence chief. He was suspicious of Jake from the beginning and started investigating his background. Every day he asked Jake more questions about his past and his business. Your husband is hiding something, Vex told Zara one day. Everyone has secrets. Not like this. His cover story has holes, big holes. Zara defended Jake, but privately she was starting to agree. Her husband knew too much about too many things. He understood military tactics, political strategy, and advanced technology. No simple merchant should have that kind of knowledge. Then, the crisis began. The Zephyr hegemony was a group of star systems that had joined together under military rule. They had been conquering smaller civilizations for the past 10 years, and now they were moving toward Veltar space. The hegemony's fleet arrived at the edge of the Empire and sent a message to Emperor Thane. Surrender in 7 days, or be destroyed. The palace was in chaos. Military leaders held emergency meetings. Nobles argued about whether to fight or surrender. Everyone was scared because the hegemony had never lost a war. Jake sat in the back of the council meetings, saying nothing. But Zara saw how he listened to every word and watched every person. When the generals talked about battle plans, Jake's face showed that he thought their ideas were wrong. What would you do? Zara asked him after one particularly bad meeting. About what? The hegemony. If you were in charge, what would you do? Jake looked at her for a long time. I would find out what they really want. Conquerors always have reasons beyond just conquest. Power, resources, revenge. If you know their real goal, you can find their weakness. That sounds like military thinking. It sounds like common sense. On the 5th day, Emperor Thane called another council meeting. The hegemony fleet was getting closer, and the Empire's forces were not strong enough to stop them. The generals recommended surrender. What about allies? Asked General Kane, the Empire's military commander. Do we have anyone who could help us? The other empires are too far away or too weak, said Admiral Cruz. We are alone. Emperor Thane looked desperate. For the first time, Zara saw her father as an old man who was scared for his people. Does anyone have any other ideas? The Emperor asked. The room was silent. Then Jake stood up. Your Majesty, may I speak? Everyone turned to look at the human. Merchant. Some nobles laughed quietly. Who was this nobody to offer advice to the Empire? Speak, the Emperor said. Jake walked to the front of the room. The hegemony's tactics are predictable. They use overwhelming force to scare enemies into surrendering. But their strength is also their weakness. Explain, said General Kane. They move their entire fleet together because they want to look unstoppable. But that makes them slow and hard to coordinate. A smaller, faster force could hit them in pieces before they can respond. Admiral Cruz frowned. That's impossible. We don't have enough ships. You don't need more ships. You need better tactics. Hit their supply lines. Force them to split their fleet. Use their size against them. The military officers stared at Jake. His analysis was detailed and professional. This was not the kind of knowledge a merchant should have. Where did you learn about military strategy? Commander Vex asked suspiciously. Jake met his eyes calmly. I read a lot. What books? Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, Alexander, Napoleon. Good tactics don't change much over time. Zara felt her heart racing. Jake was talking like a professional soldier, not a businessman who had read some old books. General Kane leaned forward. These tactics you suggest, they might work, but we would need perfect timing and coordination. Yes, Jake said, you would. Could you help us plan it? Jake hesitated. Zara could see him thinking carefully about his answer. I could offer suggestions. Over the next 2 days, Jake worked with the military leaders to plan their defense. Zara watched him draw battle formations and explain complex strategies. He knew things about spacecraft capabilities and weapon systems that impressed even the veteran officers. Jake, she said that night, I need to know the truth. Who are you really? Jake touched the sword pendant he always wore. I'm your husband. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give you right now. Zara looked at the man she had married. She was starting to realize that she might not have married a simple merchant after all. She might have married someone much more important and much more dangerous. The hegemony fleet would arrive in 1 day. And Zara had a feeling that tomorrow she would finally learn who Jake Martinez really was. The hegemony fleet filled the space above the Veltar homeworld like a dark cloud. 3,000 ships, each one built for war. The palace shook as their massive engines moved into attack position. In the royal war room, panic filled the air. Generals argued with each other while advisors ran around with reports that all said the same thing. They were going to lose. We cannot fight them, Admiral Cruz said, his voice shaking. They have 10 times our firepower. Emperor Thane sat in his chair looking older than Zara had ever seen him. Maybe we should surrender. Save our people from being slaughtered. Father, no, Zara said. There has to be another way. General Kane looked at the tactical display. Even with the humans' plan, we need more time. More ships. We have neither. Jake had been quiet through the entire meeting, standing in the back corner. But now he stepped forward, and something about his movement made everyone stop talking. Your Majesty, Jake said, his voice different than before. Stronger, more commanding. May I contact my people? Your people? Emperor Thane asked. What people? You're a merchant. Jake reached up and pulled the chain from around his neck. The simple sword pendant caught the light as he held it up. But now, under the war room's bright lights, Zara could see it was not just decoration. There were tiny symbols carved into the metal. Official symbols. No, Jake said quietly. I'm not. He pressed his thumb to the sword pendant and it began to glow. A holographic display appeared in the air showing military codes and identification numbers. Admiral Jake Martinez, he said in a voice that filled the room. Earth Defense Force, Special Operations Command. Authorization Alpha 77 Omega. The room went completely silent. Even the sound of breathing stopped. Zara felt the world spinning around her. Admiral? Jake looked at her, and for the first time since she had known him, she saw who he really was. Not a friendly merchant, but a military commander. Someone used to making life and death decisions for millions of people. I'm sorry I lied to you, he said to her. Then he turned to Emperor Thane. Your Majesty, Earth has been watching the hegemony's expansion for 2 years. We knew they would eventually move toward human space. My mission was to study the galactic powers and assess potential allies. Commander Vex stepped forward, his hand on his weapon. You've been spying on us? I've been protecting everyone, including you. Jake's voice had the kind of authority that made people want to follow orders. The hegemony isn't just your enemy. They're planning to conquer this entire sector of the galaxy. Earth, Veltar, everyone. Even if that's true, General Kane said, Earth is too far away to help us now. Jake smiled. And it was not the gentle smile Zara knew. It was the smile of someone who knew something others did not. Admiral Sullivan, he said to the holographic display. This is Admiral Martinez. Execute Operation Lightning. A woman's voice came through the communicator. Copy that, Admiral. Lightning is go. ETA 6 minutes. Emperor Thane stood up. 6 minutes for what? For the Earth Defense Force to arrive. Impossible, Admiral Cruz said. Earth is 3 weeks away at maximum jump speed. Not with our new drive technology, Jake said. We've been working on some improvements. Through the palace windows, new lights appeared in space. Not the dark shapes of hegemony ships, but bright silver vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. Dozens of them, then hundreds. The Earth fleet materialized around the hegemony formation like they had stepped out of thin air. Their ships were smaller than the hegemony vessels, but moved with precision that was beautiful to watch. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan, of the UES Liberty, a voice announced on all frequencies. Hegemony Fleet, you are ordered to withdraw from Veltar space immediately. The Hegemony commander's response was predictable. Earth Fleet, you are outnumbered 3-1. Withdraw or be destroyed. Jake walked to the communication console. Admiral Sullivan, this is Admiral Martinez. You have permission to engage. Copy. That, Jake. Time to show them what humans can do. What happened next changed everything Zara thought she knew about warfare. The Earth ships moved like they were dancing. They did not charge straight at the enemy like most fleets did. Instead, they split into small groups and attacked from every direction at once. Their weapons hit exactly where they aimed every time. Their shields deflected attacks that should have destroyed them, but the most amazing thing was how they worked together. Every ship knew exactly where every other ship was going to be. They moved through the enemy formation like water flowing, around rocks, striking weak points and disappearing before the hegemony could respond. How are they doing that? General Kane whispered. Jake was coordinating the battle from the palace, speaking rapidly into his communicator. Bravo team, hit their command ship. Alpha team, take out those carriers. Charlie team, protect the Veltar defense platforms. Zara watched her husband command the battle and realized she had never really known him at all. This was not the quiet, man who had made her lunch and told her stories about Earth. This was Admiral Jake Martinez, one of the most skilled military commanders in human space. "Jake," she said during a brief pause in the fighting, "when we got married, was any of it real?" He looked at her, and for a moment she saw the gentle man she had fallen in love with. "Everything about how I feel about you is real, Zara. Everything else, I'll explain later." The battle was turning into a disaster for the hegemony. Their massive fleet was being taken apart piece by piece by an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. Ships that had never lost a battle were exploding or surrendering. "This is impossible," Admiral Cruz said. "How did humans develop technology this advanced?" "We've been busy," Jake said. The hegemony commander tried one last desperate attack, sending all his remaining ships straight at the Earth fleet's flagship. It should have worked. The Earth ship was outnumbered 50-1, but the UES Liberty did something no one expected. It flew straight toward the attacking fleet, then seemed to split into 3 identical ships. The copies were perfect. Down to the last detail. The hegemony ships fired at all 3, but their weapons passed harmlessly through 2 of them. "Holographic projectors," Jake explained to the stunned Veltar officers. "We've been working on that too." The real Liberty destroyed the hegemony command ship with a single shot. The rest of the enemy fleet surrendered immediately. "Hegemony vessels," Admiral Sullivan announced. "You have 30 minutes to evacuate this system. Any ship still here after that will be destroyed." In the war room, everyone stared at Jake like they had never seen him before, because they had not. They had been talking to a disguise. A character he had been playing, Emperor Thane, spoke first. "Admiral Martinez, I think we need to discuss a few things." Jake nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty, I think we do." Zara looked at the sword pendant in Jake's hand. It was not just a piece of jewelry. It was the symbol of one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, and she had married the man who commanded it. "So," she said quietly, "no more secrets?" Jake smiled, and this time it was both the gentle merchant and the tough admiral. "No more secrets, I promise." Outside, the Earth fleet held position while the hegemony ships ran away. The galaxy had just learned that humanity was not the weak, primitive species everyone thought they were, and Princess Zara had learned that sometimes the most ordinary-looking people were hiding the most extraordinary secrets. 3 hours after the battle ended, representatives from 12 different star empires were calling the palace. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. How had humans become so powerful without anyone noticing? Jake sat in the royal conference room, still wearing his simple clothes, but now with his admiral's insignia clearly visible. The sword pendant hung around his neck like a badge of honor. Beside him, Zara was learning to see her husband as both the man she loved and one of the most important military leaders in the galaxy. "The hegemony surrender is complete," Admiral Sullivan reported from her flagship. "Their fleet is withdrawing from Veltar space, but we're getting reports that this news is spreading fast. Every major power is asking questions." Emperor Thane leaned back in his chair. "Admiral Martinez, I think it's time you explained exactly what Earth has been doing for the past few years." Jake nodded. "For the last decade, Earth's government has been preparing for this moment. We knew the galaxy's expansion patterns would eventually bring conflict to human space, so we decided to be ready. But your technology," General Kane said. "Those ships moved like nothing we've ever seen, and that instant jump drive—" "We've had some advantages," Jake said. "Humans think differently about problems than most species. We tend to find unusual solutions." Admiral Cruz frowned. What kind of unusual solutions? Jake touched his communicator. Admiral Sullivan, could you show them the technical demonstration? Copy that, Admiral. Through the windows, they watched one of the Earth ships simply disappear. Not jump away, just vanish completely. Then it reappeared on the other side of the planet. Quantum displacement, Jake explained. We can move ships instantly across short distances without using traditional jump points. That should be impossible, Admiral, Cruz whispered. A human scientist named Dr. Lisa Park figured out how to make it work. Turns out when you combine human intuition with alien physics, you get some interesting results. Zara was starting to understand something bigger. Jake, you didn't just develop new technology. You studied all of us. Every species in the galaxy. Yes, my mission was to learn how everyone fought, how they thought, what their weaknesses were. The merchant shop was perfect cover. People tell merchants all kinds of things. Commander Vex was still suspicious. And the marriage? Was that part of your mission too? Jake looked at Zara. The marriage was real. My feelings for Zara are real. But yes, marrying into the Veltar royal family did give Earth a perfect diplomatic opening. You used me, Zara said quietly. No, I fell in love with you. The strategic value was a bonus. Emperor Thane interrupted. Admiral, what does Earth want from us now? An alliance, a real one. The hegemony was just the beginning. There are bigger threats out there, and we're stronger together than apart. Over the next few days, Jake worked with Veltar leaders to plan their new partnership. But he also spent time with Zara, trying to repair the trust that his secrets had damaged. I understand why you lied, she told him as they walked through the palace gardens. But it still hurts. I know. I wanted to tell you the truth so many times. But my orders were clear. And now? Jake stopped walking and took her hands. Now my orders are to build an alliance with your people, and my personal mission is to be the best husband I can be to the woman I love. Zara smiled. Even though I'm not a simple princess anymore? What do you mean? Father is making me the official ambassador to Earth. I'll be representing the Veltar Empire in all our joint operations. Jake laughed. So we'll both be working. Yes, together. The news of humanity's military power spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Some species were scared. Others were excited about potential alliances. The hegemony's defeat proved that the old order was changing. 2 weeks later, Jake and Zara stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty as it jumped toward Earth. Zara was going to meet her husband's people for the first time, and Jake was going home after 3 years of secret missions. Are you nervous? Jake asked. A little. Will your people accept me? They'll love you, especially when they learn you're the reason we have our first major galactic alliance. Admiral Sullivan joined them at the viewing window. Admiral Martinez, Earth Command is very pleased with your work. The Veltar partnership is going to change everything. Thank you, Admiral. But I couldn't have done it without my wife? Sullivan smiled. The princess who married a simple merchant? Zara laughed. The merchant who turned out to be an admiral. Earth appeared before them, a blue and green world that looked peaceful from space. But Jake knew that hidden bases throughout the solar system held the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. There's something I need to tell you, Jake said to Zara, as they prepared to land. More secrets? No secrets. A promise. When we get to Earth, I'm going to show you everything. Our technology, our plans, our capabilities. No more hiding. Even classified information? You're my wife and an official ally. Besides, I think humanity's time for hiding is over. They landed at the main spaceport in Geneva, where Earth's government was headquartered. Thousands of people had gathered to welcome home the admiral who had prevented a galactic war. But Jake only had eyes for Zara as she stepped onto his home planet for the first time. "Welcome to Earth," he said. "It's beautiful. I can see why you wanted to protect it." President Chen met them at the spaceport. She was an older woman with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "Admiral Martinez, well done. And Princess Zara, welcome to Earth. We're honored to have you here." Over the following weeks, Zara learned about humanity's true capabilities. She visited the hidden shipyards where Earth's fleet was built. She met the scientists who had developed their advanced technology. She saw the training facilities where human soldiers learned to fight against any enemy. But what impressed her most was how humans worked together. Every species in the galaxy had strengths, but humans had something special. They never gave up, and they made everyone around them stronger. "Your people are remarkable," she told Jake one evening as they watched the sunset from his family's home in California. "We're stubborn," Jake said. "Sometimes that's a good thing. More than stubborn. When the galaxy sees humans as weak, you use that as camouflage. When they underestimate you, you turn it into an advantage. That's not just stubborn. That's brilliant." Jake put his arm around his wife. "What do you think happens next?" "Next, we change the galaxy. The old empires thought they could bully smaller species forever, but now there's a new power, and we're not going to let that happen anymore. We, Veltar and Earth, partners." Jake smiled. "I like the sound of that." 6 months later, the Human-Veltar alliance had grown to include 15 different species. The hegemony was gone, broken up, and absorbed by its former victims. Pirates and raiders throughout the galaxy had learned to avoid any system under alliance protection. Jake kept his admiral's rank but also continued to run merchant operations throughout the galaxy. Now, though, his shop sold both Earth goods and alliance protection. No one bothered his customers anymore. Zara split her time between Earth and the Veltar homeworld, building diplomatic relationships and making sure the alliance stayed strong. And sometimes, late at night in their quarters aboard the Liberty, Jake would take off his admiral's insignia and just be Zara's husband, the man who had made her lunch and told her stories about a beautiful blue planet far away. "Do you ever miss being a simple merchant?" she asked him one night. Jake looked at the sword pendant on his nightstand. "Sometimes. It was easier when no one knew who I really was. But not better? No, not better. I'd rather be honest with you than lie to the whole galaxy." "Good. Because I like being married to an admiral much better than being married to a mystery." Jake laughed. "Even though admirals have to save the galaxy sometimes, especially because of that." Outside their window, the stars looked the same as they always had. But now they shone on a galaxy where humans were no longer hiding, where small species did not have to fear big ones, and where a simple merchant and an alien princess had become the foundation of a new kind of peace. The galaxy had learned not to underestimate humanity, and humanity had learned that sometimes the best alliances begin with love.